What's up, squad? It's your Squid. This is part 2 in a 2-part video. Obviously, it says it in the title. You probably already know that. I'm talking for no reason. These guys are my patrons. Let's get into part 2. If you didn't watch part 1, I highly suggest you go and do that because you're coming in about 18 minutes into a 36-minute video and you might not know what's going on. But yeah, let's get into it. Thanks for coming back, guys. This is good. Let's get straight back into it.
Car and the motor, and everything was in order as best as they could tell. 7 out of 8 cylinders were intact and up to
I went back a few seconds.
Well, it's in pieces out in Concord, North Carolina somewhere. Probably sifted into the dirt beneath the speedway by now. NASCAR begrudgingly handed Junior Johnson his check, and he laughed his happy ass all the way to the bank. NASCAR fans will often muse out loud that if Junior Johnson had what we have today at his disposal, he would be unstoppable. But the men who drove for him will fire back with, how do you know he didn't?
How do you know he didn't?
Let's go ahead and knock the evil third of the board out with neutral evil. Finding neutrality in an evil act can be difficult to nail down, but Cale Yarborough seems to fit the bill pretty well. Nicknamed Old Hickory, he was a tough-as-nails driver from South Carolina.
Is he the one that punched someone?
Who asked no quarter of his competitors and none was given. His most famous act was wrecking Donnie Allison in the 1979 Daytona 500, and then fighting him and his brother Bobby Allison in the infield after the fact.
Nice.
This is where the neutral bit comes in. Wrecking Donnie Allison wasn't...
That's the first televised one,
He was
right?
trying to make a last lap pass. No ill will intended. Shit happens. But nonetheless, Cale found himself in shit more often than not. Same goes for the likes of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or even the man who drove for Junior Johnson over there the next box over, Darrell Waltrip. Darrell was a fast, charismatic guy from Owensboro, Kentucky, who quickly became a fan favorite. In an era where TV time was rare and scared off most drivers, Darrell quickly embraced the new form of media entering the sport. Had he been starting his career out today, he would no doubt have hundreds of thousands of followers on
and have a podcast, most likely.
Every single imaginable form of social media. After a run-in with Cale Yarborough at Darlington, Old Hickory gave him a new moniker, Jaws. His car could almost run as fast as his mouth, they would say about him. However,
that's mad.
4 times, his car actually did outrun his mouth, and he found himself in victory lane infuriatingly often. His game wasn't to boot you out of the way or find some sort of twist in the rules to exploit, but to just psych you out. This psychological warfare was brutally effective, and whether he drove for himself, Dyegard, or Junior Johnson, his opponents were known to have odd and misfortunate occurrences strike them at the most inopportune moments. Bobby Allison awoke in the morning of the final race of the 1983 season in the midst of a dogfight with Darrell Waltrip for the championship, only to find the gas tank of his car filled with sand. Others would find lug nuts missing just minutes before the command to fire engines, or their spoilers positioned at odd angles. Was Darrell Waltrip the man behind this? The behavior followed him wherever he went, but nobody could draw a line connecting him. On the track, however, he would race you in bewildering fashion.
He is a good old boy, isn't he?
Either make a crazy bonds.
I learnt a good old boy or a good old southern boy is somebody who's like he you know, plays on the accent, gets a bit silly sometimes, you know, so that you'll think that maybe they're not as intelligent as they are, and because you're underestimating them, they'll fucking nail you, and they'll, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a thing, you know? Like, play the joker, play the fun guy, mushroom. If I remember, I'll edit a mushroom on my face. But yeah, no, it's a thing. That's cool. I like him.
Pass as if to say, hey, I can do this crazy move this early in the race and not give a rip, can you? Or he would just ride on your bumper or quarter panel, like some annoying asshole on the interstate would do. Not trying to make a pass or anything, but just to let you know that he was there and he could do whatever he wanted to at any moment. Almost like a cat playing with a mouse before he eats it. Say what you will about him or his antics, it led him to 3 championships and a stupid number of race wins, which included 7 wins in a row at Bristol, one of the toughest racetracks on the circuit.
Yeah, alright.
There, they even named a section of grandstands after him.
That's cool.
In neutral evil fashion, the man got results. While we're on the subject of neutrality, let's drift on over to lawful neutral. What we're looking for here are guys who follow the letter of the law, but have some ethical issues to hammer out. They'll cooperate with you and race you clean to an extent, but that doesn't mean that they're going to race you easy, or play fair when the chips are down. Ryan Newman, for example. A driver that is notoriously difficult to pass. Whether it's lap 1 or just 1 to go, he will race you just as hard in either instance, often to the ire of his opponents and teammates alike. Is this smart? I don't know. It seems to have worked for him so far. He's won a slew of races. It may be dumb to race everyone that hard for that long, but then again, it's not his job to let people pass him.
Absolutely,
He's
it's
paid
not.
to go out there and race hard, and not give up positions.
Yeah, he's not being paid to make it easier for people.
By faking high, ducking down low, and when Carl Edwards went for the double block, Brad turned hard right into him, so that at least he would make it through. Ethically questionable? Sure, but what else was he supposed to do?
Yeah.
Carl threw a late block and was going to wreck regardless. It's not Brad's job to make sure things work out fairly. He's trying to win a race.
Yeah, fair enough.
Stewart
Self-preservation.
did the exact same thing later that year at Daytona to Kyle Busch, and no one seemed to have an issue with that. But the modern-day king of lawful neutral has to be Bad Brad's current teammate, Joey Logano.
Logano, there we go.
Sketchy things out on the track? Absolutely. But just about every single time they were within the rules of NASCAR and not only permissible, but actually encouraged.
All right.
In 2013, he and Denny Hamlin were battling it out on the last lap in California, and they both wreck. Denny's hurt so bad that he misses several races. But hey, Joey's going for the
That's
win
not
in the
good.
final corner of the last lap with a point system that values winning above all else.
Yeah, that happens.
He's not supposed to give in here. In 2015, he and Matt Kenseth are in a dogfight for the championship. With the current knockout style of playoff in place, Joey and Matt both need to win at Kansas. Joey gets a huge run on the front
yeah,
stretch and
desperation.
Matt gets the block. Joey holds his line and dumps him. Was this a chicken shit move? No doubt. But when you go to block a guy who's that much faster than you, what do you honestly expect? Matt Kenseth would have his revenge a few weeks later at Martinsville and effectively ruined Logano's 2015 championship run. But
Okay.
the quintessential lawful neutral moment of his, the 2018 Martinsville playoff race. Joey needs to win to punch his ticket into the next round, and on the last lap, he has just one man to beat, the defending champion, Martin Truex Jr.
Ooh.
He gives him the old bump and run out of turn 4 and wins the race. Truex
job.
wasn't too happy about it and had this to say after the race.
They won the battle, but he didn't win the damn war.
Spoiler alert, he won the damn war. The outside in the closing laps of the last race of the season, he clinched the cup by winning the race outright. Was this move back in Martinsville dirty? Kind of, yeah, but he had to do that.
Oh,
Just
that
the next
explains.
week,
I've got a Daytona video in my Watch Later playlist. That's not a Daytona. I've got a Radioactive video in my Watch Later playlist. That's Martinsville 2015, I think, and the title is "That's a Chicken Shit Move" right there. That makes sense. I see what he's doing there. Press play. Press the play button. Play.
Logano would wreck out, and the only thing keeping him in the championship hunt was his win earlier in the round. Joey rightly calls that Martinsville car his championship car, because without that bump and run, he doesn't make it into the last round of the chase, and isn't the 2018 champion. Is that fair? Probably not, but those were the rules
It
in
is what
place
it
at
is.
the time, and you can hardly blame him
not
for
what it
abiding
isn't.
by the rules and doing exactly what they encourage him to do. That's just lawful neutral for you. There's only a few spaces left on the chart, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. So why don't we go dead center and check out true neutral then? It only seems appropriate. The true neutral has no strong feelings one way or the other. They are neither good nor evil, neither lawful nor chaotic. You would think that
Kyle
such drivers
Petty.
wouldn't be that interesting, but in true neutral fashion, they're a little all over the place. There's Bobby Isaac, the 1970 Cup champion, who rarely gave interviews or talked to the press at any length.
Also didn't
He's
join the
NASCAR's
union.
biggest loner, but he did somehow still have fans. He was a tough racer, and that's all that matters to some people. He was also a rabid independent, a sort of radical centrist, if you will. When a NASCAR drivers union popped up in 1969, the Professional Drivers Association, he opted out immediately. Why? I don't think he had any pro-business or anti-union convictions. I just don't think he liked anybody else speaking on his behalf.
Yeah,
We could
that's
talk
fair
about
enough, I
the
guess.
litany of young, squeaky clean guys entering the sport right now, who fans complain that they all have the personality of sandpaper. I say give them a few years, develop some rivalries, and they'll be alright. But for true neutrality, one man stands alone at the top of the pile. One man currently embodies the spirit of the true neutral better than anyone piloting a race car. That man is Paul Menard.
Okay, never heard of him.
I want you to do something for me real quick. Google image search Paul Menard and try to find a picture of him smiling. It's harder than you might think. Even when you do run across the rare picture of him smiling, it just kind of seems awkward. Like he knows which facial muscles to use, but the act itself is still very foreign to him. It doesn't come naturally. He doesn't get outwardly emotional at all, and even the way he rates
I googled him, spelled his name wrong, came up with a British politician. Definitely not
just
him.
kind of blasé. His wins are also without panache. He doesn't win by making daring moves at the last second or by showboating. He usually just quietly pulls away and comes out with the W. His one and only Cup Series win comes in probably the most neutral way imaginable, by fuel mileage. There's no mystique or flashiness in that. It's just math, mixed in with a little bit of guesswork, and all throughout, Paul Menard remains stoic. Oh hey, there's that smile. Next, let's head north a bit and look at neutral good. The neutral good plays by the rules when it suits his case, but isn't afraid to mix things up on occasion to win the crowd over.
Yeah, right.
Matt Kenseth fits this bill perfectly. He had a habit of
Flipping and flopping out of retirement.
Show up on race day with a fast car and slice his way through the field and put on a show, much to the admiration of the NASCAR nation. And after he spun himself out trying to edge out Dave Blaney at the line in Charlotte, no one doubted his drive to win. Carl Edwards also had a bunch of fans, and while his occasional chaotic side would drive some people away, they'd always come right back. His run-ins with Kyle Busch at Bristol were of special importance to us Cousin Carl fans. But the absolute king of neutral good drivers is, well, obviously, the king himself, Richard Petty. King Richard, first of his name, is the winningest driver in NASCAR's top series by a long shot, almost doubling the win total of the runner-up. But what's most interesting about this tear through the NASCAR record books is that he stayed on the good side of the NASCAR fan base throughout. Whereas Jimmy Johnson and Jeff
Gordon, he looks so much different when he's young.
NASCAR fans,
obviously.
In the same way Tom Brady pisses off NFL fans today, Richard Petty won week in and week out without ever having the fans.
How good was it seeing Tom Brady stink it up for the Buccaneers? Anyway.
Turn on him. How did he do this? Well, oddly enough, by all the times he didn't win, he'd lose squeakers to the likes of Bobby Isaac, Benny Parsons, and most notably, David Pearson. He and Pearson have 305 wins between them, and they finished 1-2 63 of those times.
Wow.
Pearson getting the better of him 33-30. Petty wasn't just a popular driver because he won a lot. He was popular because when he won, he had to earn it against the best that have ever been. When Pearson and Petty found themselves in each other's company up towards the front, they were about to make history happen almost every single time. There's the 1974 Firecracker 400 where Pearson played dead on the last lap and let Petty pass him, just so he could take away Petty's slingshot pass and use it for himself.
Oh, wow.
2 years later, the two would find themselves running 1-2 at Daytona again, but this time in the 500. They would slam into each other coming out of fourth, wrecking the infield.
Good save. Good save. Nah, never mind.
Whoever could fire up their engine first and limp across the line would be declared the winner. Pearson was able to get his Mercury to roll over first and staggered across the line for his first and only Daytona 500 crown.
Wow.
Petty had to have his crew push his wreck to the finish. The two men played cat and mouse with each other for decades and never shied away from toying with the other for their own amusement. They were pretty much made for each other. Late in life, Richard Petty and David Pearson would be interviewed and asked who they thought the best driver of all time was. Richard Petty, without hesitation, pointed towards David Pearson. Pearson just smiled and said, "I agree with Richard." The racing gods are mostly fair and just. Those who work the hardest, have the most talent, and pay their due diligence usually end up with the W. But every once in a while, during the quiet deliberations amongst said racing gods, Lady Chaos stumbles into the room in a drunken stupor, throws up her hands, and just declares a winner, whether anybody in the room or the appointed winner likes it or not. All your hard work, sacrifice, and money can be all for naught if just a few factors go the wrong way. It is entirely possible to win a NASCAR race by sheer goddamned accident. It's happened before and it'll happen again.
Trevor Bayne at the Daytona.
Practice the dark arts of scoring a NASCAR win. Let's take a dance with Lady Chaos and the pale moonlight and see what happens. Let's take a look at chaotic neutral.
All right.
An obvious weird way to win a NASCAR race is the rain-shortened race. It's a rule in most racing series that if you get past the halfway point in a race and weather causes the race to be postponed and it cannot be restarted in a, quote, reasonable amount of time, then whoever was first at the time of caution will be declared the winner.
Nice.
What constitutes a reasonable amount of time varies from person to person, and NASCAR has, of course, flubbed this one over the years. In 2009, the Daytona 500 got a caution due to rain past the halfway point. Daytona has lights, so they could have waited it out, but instead, just before 7 p.m., after a 16-minute red flag, NASCAR called the race. As teams packed up their cars and left the track, the rain came down, and the ground was already starting to dry up. Matt Kenseth, your 2009 Daytona 500 winner, folks. Conversely, in November of 1998,
that's insane.
at the last
16
race
minutes.
of the season at Atlanta, NASCAR endured nearly 7 hours worth of on and off rain delays until at 11 o'clock at night, Jeff Gordon won his 13th race of the season and was crowned the champion.
Fucking hell, there's a big difference between those two.
Run it out all the way until almost midnight. Even more baffling was the fact that Jeff Gordon had locked up the championship in the previous race. There was literally no need to see this one out, other than I guess NASCAR just really wanted Jeff to get the record-tying 13th win of the season. As you might suspect, a lot of drivers have gotten their first win due to rain-shortened races. Joey Logano got his first win at a rain-shortened race at Loudon, New Hampshire in 2009. Eric Almirola got his first win thanks to a rain-shortened race at Daytona during the summer race, but that's nothing compared to the weird way he won his first Xfinity Series race, because when he won that race, he wasn't even driving the car when the checkered flag flew. Now
How?
we get to the driver replacement victory. In NASCAR, whoever starts the car at the drop of the green flag gets credited with the finishing position of that car, even if they get replaced at any point during the race. Usually this is due to driver sickness or injury. Maybe you have enough strength to start the race and get to the first cycle of pit stops, but you need somebody else to drive the car for the remainder of the race. Eric
That's
Almirola
interesting.
The 2007 AT&T 250 at the Milwaukee Mile driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. He nabbed the pole and led the race for the first 43 laps until his car owner made the call. Put Denny Hamlin in the car. Was Eric sick? Nope. Hurt? Not at all. At least not until he was told to give up his dominant car to somebody else. So what gives?
Right.
Well, Denny Hamlin was supposed to drive the number 20 car for the majority of the races during the 2007 Xfinity Series campaign, doing double duty in both it and the Cup Series. This wasn't an issue at the time, as most of the races on the schedule were companion races at the same track on the same weekend. However, this weekend, the Xfinity Series is at the Milwaukee Mile in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The Cup race is in Sonoma, California.
Wow, they're not
Hamlin
close.
slated to run this race nearly 2,000 miles away. Well, the 20 car's primary sponsor was Rockwell Automation, and they were based out of Wisconsin. They wanted to see their star driver at their home track.
Yep.
Denny could have gotten there to start the race, but his helicopter couldn't find a place to land, and he was late. Joe Gibbs and Denny Hamlin want Eric to finish the race. He's got the car and the know-how. His only competition, Carl Edwards in the 60 car, has been in trouble all night. But somewhere, presumably in some smoke-filled room, Rockwell Automation convinces Joe Gibbs to yank Eric out of the car and put Denny Hamlin in. Eric was understandably furious.
I'll bet.
He didn't even stay for his own victory lane celebration. He got the points, the credit, the trophy, and the check. But if I were him, I'd spit on that trophy every morning after I got out of bed.
Yeah, right.
Next is my favorite unconventional way to win a race.
That's
Scoring
crazy.
error. This one has fortunately gone the way of the dodo bird thanks to electronic timing and scoring, but back in the day, NASCAR officials just had to keep notes and move placards around a desk. Hopefully at the end of 5 hours, everybody had been paying attention and they got it right. But not too infrequently they got it wrong. Protests were coming all throughout the field.
That's
most of the
insane.
time, either rightly or wrongly,
How do you get
the
that
winner
shit
was
wrong?
never in dispute. It's impossible to know today how many wins got muffed up along the way, but there are a few where we definitely know something fishy went down. There was, of course, the worst race ever at Talladega in
The first
1969.
black dude to win a
Despite
race as
there
well.
being just 3 cars up to speed, only 2 of which were competitive, NASCAR
That's
still
'cause of the
lost
union
track of
issue?
him and awarded the win to Richard Brickhouse, his first and only NASCAR Cup win. In interviews later in life, Richard seems pretty coy about admitting whether or not he thinks he actually won, while Ray Fox and Jim Vandiver are adamant that they won. Even still, Richard's win has stood the test of time and will likely never be rescinded. Remember Brett Bodine from earlier when we were talking about Earnhardt wrecking him? Well, he has just one win, and that came on a scoring error. To this day, Darrell Waltrip says that he actually won this race in 1990. And from his telling of events, it sounds like Bill France Jr. knew about the scoring error and let the win stand anyway just because it made for a good story. But my favorite scoring error has to be what would have been Richard Petty's first win at Lakewood Speedway in 1950.
Oh, that's Carl Petty.
Driving a 1957 Oldsmobile.
No, Lee Petty, sorry, his dad.
He's running solidly up front all day.
His dad made the
Checkered
challenge,
flag flies
right?
At the conclusion of the 150-lap main event, and as Richard Petty makes his way to Victory Circle, officials have a protest of the running order. Someone else claims they've won this race.
His dad.
Protester, Lee Petty.
Yeah.
His own father.
Yeah. I watched a video about that. I watched Petty Blue. Imagine the argument on the ride home.
Petty protested his son's first win, and he got the running order changed so that he won and Richard was placed in second. Now, to be fair, Richard says that he never actually thought he won that race and was just going to roll with it just to see what would happen. Also, this was his dad's primary source of income, and he needs to put food on the table for his family and fund his race team.
Yeah.
And Richard is just out here for funsies, racing for that exact same team that needs the money far more than he does. But man, that's just cold. I don't care who you are. So, there it is, Lee Petty. One cold-ass honky.
Yeah.
All of this chaos, it still doesn't tell the full story of how crazy a NASCAR race can be at the finish. Meet the Buescher cousins. Together they had 2 of the most unlikely wins in NASCAR history, and the fact that they're related just makes it even more insane. First, let's start with the younger Buescher, Chris. It's August the 1st in 2016 at the second Pocono race. Like most late summer Pocono races, rain is an issue, and our old friend the rain-shortened race is looking to make another appearance. Rain's on the way according to the radar, so guys are stretching out their fuel runs as long as they can, in hopes that they'll just get lucky and be out front when the rain hits. But suddenly, something unexpected comes up. A fog bank. Fog rolls into turn 2, and pretty soon the driver spotters can't see half the track. As a safety precaution, NASCAR yellow flagged the event, but as the fog gets thicker, they decide to throw the red and halt the race. Chris's team is praying for rain, but it never comes. Instead, the fog just hangs over the track, longer and longer. An hour and a half rolls by and still no rain. Turns out those radar signatures weren't picking up rain, they were picking up that fog bank. The fog just parks itself over the track, and since we're past the halfway point, NASCAR calls it. Chris Buescher becomes the first and so far only driver to my knowledge to win a race due to lack of visibility by way of fog.
That's insane.
Buescher, though, his lone Xfinity Series win is even more ridiculous.
How is it more ridiculous than that?
2012, a 300-mile race at Daytona. Going into the final series of turns, the top 10 are running so close together that you could just about throw a blanket over them.
Yep.
So where's James Buescher in all of this? Well, he's not even in the frame. Let's back up a bit. That's him back there at 11th on the final turn of the final lap.
How?
Does that mean, yep, the top 10 completely wrecked?
Oh, they Stephen Bradbury.
Somehow weaves his way through the carnage, narrowly misses getting bodied by Brad Keselowski, and speeds to his first and only victory in the series, presumably while screaming during the entire ordeal and probably having an accident in his fire suit. Two guys, both of them cousins, getting their first and only victories in their respective series in the most unconventional and unique ways.
That's insane. Also, if you didn't understand the reference I just made, Stephen Bradbury was Australia's first ever Winter Olympic gold medalist. He got into the semi-final, or because everyone fell over. He got into the semi-final because someone was a drug cheat, and he finished next in line, and so then everyone fell over in the semi-final for him to get into the grand final, and then everyone fell over in the grand final. This is the 2002 Winter Olympics. Everyone just fucking stacked it on the last corner, and he came in and, like, Australia's first ever Winter Olympic gold medalist because everyone fell over a couple of races in a row.
Probably never happen again. Certainly not in my lifetime. And I can't think of a better send-off for a chaotic neutral.
Yeah, wow.
So there it is. The 9 types of NASCAR
That's
winners.
dope. I'm so glad I watched this.
Fit into this whole crazy, stupid thing. Sound off down in the comments and let me know.
Go and subscribe to Slap Shoes if you're not already. That was cool. I like that. That was a fun watch. Yeah, as I said, I really, really enjoyed that. That was really, really cool. Thank you very much for suggesting it to me. These guys are my patrons. They suggest stuff to me all the time, and I watch it and react to it. And yeah, I've got a whole bunch of different playlists. I've got football, hockey, baseball, basketball, bull riding, miscellaneous, which has got like lacrosse and soccer and stuff. I have history videos. I've got live streams where I just talk about random stuff. The most recent live stream I did was talking about potential for life on Venus. Just poke around the channel. If you know you like me from the NASCAR videos, poke around the channel. You might like my other videos as well. And yeah, I'm gonna get to editing because it's already 6:30 right now as I say this, and I've got a lot of editing to do with the videos I did today. I probably won't get them all up now I think about it, but it is what it is. You'll see what you see, right? Hit subscribe. If this is the first time you've stumbled across me, please do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2020, and at this point, I need about 8 point something every day till the end of the year if I'm going to get there. So do me a solid, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you when I look at you. You'll see me when you look at me. Thanks for watching.